I talk about it in every seminar. It's Coach Glassman saying, why do you think people don't fight back? You know, and I remember pausing and coming up with my answer, and he goes, isn't it because they're afraid to lose? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, it's that simple. And he went on to say, if the fight's gonna happen anyways, and you choose not to fight back, what you risk is losing everything. But if the fight's gonna happen anyways, and you get into the fight, and you happen to lose the fight, all you lost was the fight. Because you still have your emotional, psychological system, you know, intact, assuming that, you know, your life wasn't the outcome. And that is true research-wise. Where victims of violence who fought back don't have the same PTSD as people who just cooperated. That's huge, it's powerful. Growing up, I had this tremendous amount of fear at the youngest age that I could ever imagine. I just always was afraid of getting beaten up or something happened. And it always fascinated me whenever there was like a TV show on. This is growing up in the 60s. There's a TV show on, it was a Wild Wild West or Bruce Lee and the Green Hornet. I was riveted to the camera and to the TV when there were fight scenes. And it always like spoke to me. I was mesmerized by it. I'd always say, kind of slip into my dad, like, hey, what would I do if ever, you know, I had to fight or defend myself? And even at a young age, he'd say, oh, you gotta learn karate. You know, that was the big thing. So you gotta karate or judo. 12, 13, I finally said, you know what? I have enough of this fear. I'm gonna go learn martial arts. And the only school near where I lived was a Taekwondo school. Became a fanatic, trained every single class I could. So this is back in the, in the 70s, this is way before MMA. And so the main platform for mixed martial arts that we know today is a wrestling, striking, kicking, and of course, jiu-jitsu. So I had empirically stumbled upon, that kind of platform. And, there was always this fascination back then of training. I mean, I literally trained 7 days a week and worked out all the time. It was what I do. I was obsessive with it. From the age of 20 to 25, 30 to 40 private lessons a week. I would spar 30 times a week with people, go into people's houses, literally, we talk about the garage gym starting there. Well, I was in a different garage 3-4 times a day after work, getting home at 10, 11 at night. And it was my laboratory. And I did that till I was 25, when I finally, one of the scariest things I ever did was open up my first school. This first student of mine, Mitch, who kind of jump-started my whole business. And I say that because I never went, I was working as a shipper. It wasn't like, I think I'll start the self-defense business. That was, the serendipity of it was, he got his ass kicked in this fight with his bully. And I realized when he was telling me what happened, that I had taught him self-defense wrong. And so Mitch got his ass kicked because I was teaching him how to punch, how to kick, how to block, how to move, how to wrestle. And when he got in this fight and he told me what happened, I realized that I hadn't created a scenario for him. I hadn't given him any stress inoculation for a scenario. And I completely reversed how I taught self-defense.
The essence is just an eclectic hybrid system where you're going to draw from as many different arts, striving effectiveness and functionality. And given that, what we did is we realized that at some point, it was about 10 years ago, that the mind navigates the body. It didn't matter how good you got with your kicks, how strong you punch, how many rounds you could do. If you froze in the real situation, it didn't matter what your background was. So we started doing extensive research into psychology of fear, fear management, a field, I guess it's called now, human performance technologies. How do you, what are the top athletes doing to get through the pressure and the stress? And that's what we stress a lot. And, we've got a whole psychology and philosophy for the martial arts, but really what we do is we're coaches. We teach people how to motivate themselves and get the job done.
That's what started the whole force-on-force training, the realistic scenario training, this whole panic attack system, which is what pretty much launched me internationally. But I owe that to my student Mitch, who got his ass kicked, and him saying, hey, this is what happened, and like apologizing to me. I didn't do what you told me, I didn't do this. And I was like, time out. No, I screwed that up. And I ask people like, because most of the coaches I know, most of the trainers I know, if their student messes something up in a fight, sport fight or street fight, they'll say, well, where was your awareness? You didn't turn your hip, or you didn't do this move. They never look back and go, did the training suck? And as a coach, that's always been my paradigm.
Some basic skills to practice. First thing, when you're in the beginning of a confrontation, you want to get to the left of the ambush, and what'll happen in any scenario typically is there's going to be some sort of verbal assault, some sort of interview process where the bad guy goes, hey, you piece of shit, or grabs you, or give me this, whatever starts to happen. That's this distance here. A reflex in the body is to get the hands up and push away danger. So the simplest thing for a CrossFitter to relate to is if I said to you, so Jeremy, hit a nonviolent posture. So he's in this position here. Now, check this out. You're gonna do Karen. So if you're setting up here like this, and if I move the ball away from here, don't move your hands, okay? He's almost in that exact same position I want. So I just want you to see this relationship, this commonality, because what I'm really big on is demystifying how much you have to practice. People think, well, I gotta go to school, I gotta practice. You've done 1,000 reps where you stood up and you've done this and you're getting ready to go. And if I drop the ball, I'm kind of in that nonviolent posture. Don't take it literally. I just want you to know you've got this operating system and kind of this muscle movement pattern that's already dialed in. So that's this position here. The other thing that I want you to do is, Jeremy, just drop down to a couple push-ups. This position, this movement of this kinetic chain hop up a sec, if he's in that push-up plank position and I have him just start doing push-ups out here, if he was doing those push-ups as fast and as hard as he could, so we're doing that, if I walked by without paying attention, keep going, and I went boom and it hit me, that would obviously rattle some teeth. So if I just don't even move your body, get your hands up like that, just as fast and as hard as you can without moving in there, do a push-up. Okay, you can see how much impact that has. Imagine that with a bad guy doing this, going, hey, you piece of shit, and then he just fires that push-up. So I want you to see the relationship between a palm strike and a push-up. Again, that motor pattern's already there for you. What you obviously want to do, if you can, is get some torque in there. Get some core to extremity explosiveness. So how we're going to do that is this. This is a natural thing what the body does when somebody encroaches you. So if you're moving in towards me, any one of you guys just move towards me, it's natural for you to move away from danger. So what we're going to do is this, is I'm going to have Jeremy just blade a little bit. So I'm doing this sort of thing, and he blades and he goes up into that position. Okay? Now he's locked and loaded. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to tell him, I want you to explode. You can do that push-up. It's going to be from your hips, through your shoulder, through your hand. It's just that core to extremity explosion. Watch the difference in the ball here. Now, if you're practicing this at your box, always have laces back so your fingers don't get caught up in there. You don't get any type of laceration or anything there. So always laces back. And here's a cool thing: if you put the ball on your shoulder, it's, guess what, the same height as my head. It's just resting on the shoulder. What I'm going to do to set the distance properly, and look how simple this is. Don't hit yet. Is I'm going to grab Jeremy with my arm, so now I've set up this natural distance where I've threatened him, and then I'm just going to step off line. Okay, so I'm now at the exact distance of some piece of shit in your face threatening you, and you get tighten up how you would be, because in a real fight there's going to be organic fear, a real confrontation, you're going to be afraid, so feel that, and then as fast as you can, in and out with that palm strike, but just with one hand now. Okay, and it blasts out of there, and he's re-engaged. So imagine that, where I've gone, hey man, and I'm doing this, and I'm threatening the guy, and he goes 3, 2, 1, go, and fires that.
I realized about 10 years into my martial exploration that I was teaching and training and coming up with drills and experimenting with people for myself, that it was cathartic for me because of all this fear I had. And then when people would say, well, how did you do that and what did you do that, I would share with them, and an amazing thing happened is it worked for them. That I was accidentally discovering a generic, but not in the blasé, blah, blah, blah sense, but this like generic application that could be used by all humans. When I first realized that, it's no different, let's say when, Coach Glassman talking about the first time he did, his workout in the garage and threw up and ran across the street to his best friend's house, and then had him do it, and he threw up too, and then they went across the street, and it was like that, like, hey, wait a minute, this adaptation, this modality of movement has that same effect on other humans. And so I was experimenting with all this stuff to overcome my own fear. And my passion and intensity for self-defense attracted these students. They wanted to learn that. But then these movements that and these drills that I was developing for myself had the same impact on them. And I was getting all this feedback. And so here we are all these years later, where what I started off doing for myself as a teenager in my 20s now serves everybody. And I remind myself of that, every day. If here I am at 53 years old, when I teach next weekend, I'll be as fired up as I was when I was 20. And what I know that I'm doing is I'm empowering people, and I'm sharing all of this information, and the feedback is universal. It's not gender specific, it's not age specific, it's not task specific. It's, every day we're faced with some sort of conflict, some sort of confrontation, and how you manage that determines the quality of your day, and therefore the quality of your week, and therefore the quality of your life. Fear management is everything.